All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking a really powerful story from the ancient world. It's all about a kind of divine appointment that completely shattered centuries of prejudice and, honestly, changed the course of history.
But before we get into it, I've got a question for you. Just think for a second. Who is someone you consider fundamentally different from us? Maybe it's based on where they're from, what they believe, their social status, whatever. Just hang on to that thought. Because that deep-seated human tendency we have to create an us and a them, that's at the very heart of the story we're about to get into. So our story revolves around two men who, by all the rules of their time, lived in completely separate worlds. They should have never, ever met. On one side, you have Peter, a devout Jewish apostle, and on the other, Cornelius, a respected Roman soldier. The gap between them, it wasn't just a few miles. It was a cultural and religious canyon that seemed impossible to cross. Look at this. The contrast couldn't be more extreme. Peter's a leader in this new faith that grew out of Judaism. Cornelius, he's an officer in the Roman army, the very military force occupying Peter's homeland. And for devout Jews like Peter, non-Jews or Gentiles were seen as ritually unclean. You just didn't go into their homes, and you certainly didn't sit down and eat with them. They were, in every single way, outsiders. So you've got these two guys living these parallel lives that are never supposed to intersect. But then, something really extraordinary starts to happen. We see this kind of supernatural intervention begin to unfold, setting up two separate visions that have one single mysterious purpose: to bring these two worlds crashing together.
Let's start with Cornelius over in the city of Caesarea. Now, this guy was not your typical Roman commander. While his fellow Romans were worshiping a whole pantheon of gods, Cornelius had turned his back on them. He was drawn to the God of Israel. In fact, he was known for being incredibly devout, for his constant prayer, and for his generosity. And it's right in the middle of one of these prayers that an angel suddenly appears to him.
And the message the angel gives him isn't some kind of cryptic riddle. It's a direct command, super specific. It's like, hey, God has noticed you. Your devotion hasn't gone unseen. Now, here's what you need to do. He has to send for a man he's never even met, in a city miles away. And just like that, the first domino falls. Okay, so as Cornelius's men start their journey, the scene shifts over to the city of Joppa. And while Cornelius got these crystal clear instructions, Peter is about to experience something way more confusing. Something that's going to disturb him and really challenge the very foundation of his beliefs. So it's around noon, Peter's up on a rooftop praying, and this wild vision starts. A giant sheet comes down out of the sky, and it is filled with all kinds of animals. Reptiles, birds, you name it. Animals that his Jewish faith had said were absolutely forbidden to eat. Then a voice tells him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." For a guy who's followed these laws his entire life, this is just unthinkable. So he refuses, but the whole thing, the sheet, the animals, the command, it happens not once, not twice, but 3 times.
And every time Peter refuses, the voice hits him back with this mysterious line: "What God has made clean, do not call common or impure." And then the vision's over. It just ends, leaving Peter completely baffled. What on earth could that mean? Was God just changing the dinner menu all of a sudden? He had absolutely no idea.
Now, right at the moment Peter is trying to piece together this bizarre vision, what happens? There's a knock at the door. Cornelius's men are here. So now he's got this real-time test, right? Does he stick with the rules of his culture and send these Gentile strangers away, or does he listen to this other voice he's been hearing?
And boom, right on cue, that divine voice gives him the answer. Do not hesitate to go with them, for I have sent them. The instruction is as clear as day. Peter has a choice to make. Trust the traditions he's known his entire life, or trust this divine nudge to go with men he's always considered unclean. He chooses to obey, and even invites them into his home, which, by the way, was a huge, radical first step.
So Peter and some friends travel with these men to Cornelius's house, and when he walks through that door, breaking a major social and religious rule, he doesn't just find Cornelius. The place is packed. The centurion had gathered his whole family and all his close friends. They're all there, just eagerly waiting to hear what Peter has to say.
And this right here, this is the aha moment. Standing in that room, looking at all the faces of these non-Jewish people, all the pieces of that confusing puzzle just suddenly click into place. Peter finally gets it. That bizarre vision with the animals, it wasn't about food at all. God was using the idea of clean and unclean animals to teach him a much, much deeper lesson about people.
And what he says next is, well, it's like a theological earthquake. He looks at this Roman soldier and his family, and he basically says, okay, I get it now. God doesn't play favorites. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your culture is, what your passport says. God's acceptance is open to anyone from any nation who truly respects him.
But wait, the story doesn't stop with Peter's big realization. As he actually starts sharing his message with this very unlikely crowd, something happens that gives everyone in the room dramatic, undeniable proof that the barrier between us and them has just been completely demolished.
Right in the middle of Peter's sentence, the Holy Spirit comes down on every single Gentile in that room. You have to imagine the Jewish companions who came with Peter. Their jaws are on the floor. They are watching the exact same powerful spiritual experience that happened to them, now happening to people they'd been taught their whole lives to avoid.
The chain reaction is instant. First, there's just pure astonishment from Peter's friends. I mean, they are stunned. But that shock quickly turns into validation. This is it. This is the proof that God's message is truly for everyone. And this leads directly to action. Peter basically says, well, who can argue with this, and commands that they all be baptized right then and there.
So, why are we talking about a story that's nearly 2,000 years old? Because its core lesson on partnership, on prejudice, and on the power of connection is it's absolutely timeless.
One of the key ideas from the source material is this concept of being God's co-worker. Think about this for a second. God sent an angel to Cornelius, right? But the angel didn't preach the sermon. The angel's only job was to tell Cornelius to go find Peter. Why do it that way? Because God chooses to work through people. He's looking for partnership. The goal wasn't just some divine information download. It was about creating a real personal connection between two human beings from two totally different worlds.
And that's really the timeless model for all of us. This story challenges us to take a hard look at our own lives. Who are the people that we maybe subconsciously consider unclean or common? Who are the people we've been taught to keep our distance from? The message here is a clear call to action. Go and bridge those divides, challenge your own biases, and make a real effort to connect.
So we'll end with this question. If Peter was sent to Cornelius, who is the Cornelius that you are being sent to meet? Who is that person or that group of people that maybe you're being called to connect with, to understand, and to break down a barrier with? That's something to really chew on. Thanks for digging into this with me.